Dr. Zelenko became a household name when he developed his world-famous Zelenko protocol. To make sure that everybody had access to his immune-boosting formula, he created Z-Stack, my family's immune-boosting supplement of choice. Along with Z-Detox, Z-Flu, and Z-Shield, Z-Stack has helped countless families stay healthy and protected. With every purchase of Dr. Zelenko's products, you also support the Zelenko Freedom Foundation in their tireless work to promote and reinstate medical freedom for all. Click the link down below, use coupon code INSPIRE to save, and protect your family today. Hey, Inspire Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers, John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another inspired conversation. And today we're welcoming back a guest, I believe for the third or fourth time on the Inspired channel, Greg the Hydrogen Man. Greg, thank you so much for joining us again today.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Greg, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Off camera, you just said something to me. You said, John, you know, America is in big trouble right now. And I think a lot of people can feel it, can see it clearly. I mean, it's obvious. But a lot of times when we talk about these things, these are problems that oftentimes we feel are out of reach and we can't do anything about. But Greg, your approach to the problems that we face in America is A, something that we can do something about, and B, actually the way you go about it is very, very empowering. So run us through it. What do you think from your perspective, you as the Hydrogen Man? What do you think one of the biggest problems we're facing in America right now?
Well, one of the biggest issues, in my opinion, is, well, one, just the way that people are being treated, and especially children, you know, the youth, because I think they just really need a lot of guidance. And the things that I've seen that are affecting their health is really it. Because like we were talking off camera, I was saying, in my opinion, I just think a nation is only as strong as its people. And whether it's being done by design, which it really does look like it's being done by design, but I'm not going to go as far as just saying that I'm 100% sure on this. But it seems that they're trying to weaken the people. You know, there's crazy stuff in the food. We have children with fatty liver disease, which was like unheard of, you know, not that long ago, which is something that typically happens to alcoholics, right? And you know, the whole reason that this all happened, and even my knowledge, was because I went through something really terrible. You know, I was extremely sick. Technically, I shouldn't even be alive right now. And I had a really bad, you know, I was dealt a bum hand, like a lot of people, you know, are in this world, and a lot of people are suffering from medical issues. But one thing that I try to do always in life is I want to find the positive, even within the negative, even like with what's going on in America. And the positive side of it was that I ended up having to really dig within myself and really do a lot of research and figure out how to try to save myself, you know, ultimately from these medical issues, because the medical establishment didn't have any answers for me. And it was a field that I worked in for a very long time. And I knew what they could and couldn't do, but in my case, they had nothing for me. And it was really rough. But I ended up learning a lot about water, which is crazy to find out the stuff that's in our water. I mean, the list is so long, I can't even begin. You know, I
Yeah,
have
and
a
we're
list.
going to go into the details. Yes, exactly. You brought the goods, but I want to just rewind a little bit, Greg, because you touched on
Yeah.
something. You told me off camera 15% of children today have fatty liver disease. And one thing that perhaps we cannot overestimate is how many diseases today are directly linked to the food and water. And when we say food, it's something very different than it was 100 years ago, and something very different than it was even 200 years ago, where you had natural foods. And most of the diseases were not connected to the foods unless it was spoiled. But other than that, if the food was, you know, natural, and as most of it was, you didn't have diabetes, you didn't have all these things. So can you run us a little bit about what you have found in the food that you can find on most grocery store shelves? And why is it that 15% of the children have fatty liver disease?
Well, probably one of the biggest ones is sugar. I mean, the overconsumption of sugar is just out of control. And one thing that I do a lot of ever since I had to get on my health kick to try to, you know, heal myself, is I had to start checking ingredients of everything. You know, everything that I would buy, and it was shocking what they put sugar in. I mean, it's in, like I said, it's
Or
in
high
almost,
fructose corn syrup, right? I mean, as a
yes,
replacement for sugar, yeah.
yes, high corn fructose corn syrup. And I think one thing that I've learned a lot about, you know, sugar in general is when you go through a certain process and you have processed sugar, and high corn fructose corn syrup being one of them, the body just doesn't assimilate it the same way. Now, if it comes out of a fruit or if there's some sugar in a vegetable, it's processed very differently. The fact that it's paired with fibers and enzymes and everything else, it's very different. I've even found interesting studies where they take processed sugar and then they add more sugar, but from like a natural 100% juice. And that actually regulates your blood glucose more by adding more. It doesn't even make sense. It was a very interesting study that I looked deep into, always trying to learn about the human body. And then of course, seed oils. This is everywhere. All the fried foods, stir fried, pan fried, deep fried. These things are the things that I think are affecting people the most. And just these processed, one thing that I'm learning a little bit more about is how they process these things to make things like high corn fructose corn syrup. And it surprised me to learn that it appears that there's mercury, because it's one of the part of the processes to make the high corn fructose corn syrup. So here we're being riddled with these potential toxic, metals in our food that we would have just never thought of. So this whole journey, was really odd. I never thought that it would lead to what it's led to. And this is, another reason why I'm really grateful that you allow me to be on so that I can, share this information with people, because I do want America to be strong. I want America to be healthy. I want people to be happy, because I personally believe very strongly, just because of my own experience, that a lot of our happiness is definitely correlated to our physical health. How can you be happy,
100%. And it goes even further than most people understand, because it's kind of easy to understand. Well, if you're not healthy, you're not in a good state, and obviously your life's not going to be very positive. But it goes even that you can today link a lot of the symptoms of depression, right? And the hormonal imbalance, which is so often mentioned, can be linked to malnutrition. You're not getting enough nutrients. So this directly leads to depression. You're coming really strongly from the water side, but you're looking at nutrition as a general field, thankfully. So you're not just looking at isolated things. You've been working with many people. You have your own success story. You've shared this on this channel multiple times, which is a story from almost dead to being pure life and pure health, what you are today, which is beautiful and powerful. But you're also helping other people. And we've seen the before, after pictures. We've heard the stories. What happens when people make certain changes that are well within their possibilities? It's not that this is not rocket science. What you're suggesting is far from rocket science. These are simple but effective changes that people can make. And you always begin with educating people on water. And you brought this lab test here today that you got this little brochure that shows what's in our water today in America. Can you guide us through that? If you open your faucet, if you drink tap water, what are you drinking?
Well, the list is extremely long, but I'll probably just name a few things. I mean, we have things like arsenic. Obviously, if I were to just show you, each one of these little things is something. And this is just one page. I mean, I got pages and pages of chemicals. But the ones that concern me the most are, arsenic is something that concerns me. Obviously, we talked about fluoride off camera. We were talking about fluoride. There is probably one of the big ones. I mean, they got lead, which is another issue. But probably one of the biggest, most scary ones.
We don't put lead in gasoline anymore. But it's in the water?
Dude, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's so yes, it is. According to this particular study, that this was a third-party lab test. But the one that really concerns me is something called PFOS, PFOS, and PFOA. These are a couple different chemicals that are basically toxicologists were trying to give you a minimum number of what is deemed safe. This is what they try to do. And with this particular one, they kept lowering that number until eventually it reached zero. They said no amount is safe. It's so toxic, Jean, that we know it causes cancer. And it's in basically every single person's water in the entire United States. It's unbelievable.
But Greg, here's my question to you. Does it have to be in the water? What's the purpose of all these chemicals and elements being in the water? Why?
A lot of they definitely don't need to be in the water. And a lot of them appear to be in the water due to they're like industrial waste. Texas has been dumping massive amounts of toxic garbage in water for a very long time, which is really sad. The reason that California has a major problem with PFAS is because it's one of the fire retardants that's used. Like when they're fighting forest fires, it's it gets in the water, you know.
I understand that, but don't we have a water filtration? Don't we have water plants that are supposed to clean the water completely and give you a healthy product?
You know, they seem to be more interested in using chemicals to clean up water, which are also not very good for us, right? You know, the chlorines and chloramines and whatnot.
So,
So
so basically, contaminated water comes in, and what comes out isn't much better. It's just different.
yeah, it's like a water that you can drink and not die right away.
Hmm.
You know, where some countries that I've been in where you could drink the water and literally die, you know, because of some bacteria or something along those lines. And it was a very, very long road to figure out how to clean water to the maximum degree, because that was my goal. I wanted to clean water to the maximum degree. And what was shocking to me is that water filters were not even close to cutting it. I thought that they were great. And I used to use normal water filters all the time, and no, it wasn't good enough. And I ended up learning from nature how to do it. Actually, that's how I learned how to clean water.
There is a term for these filters that doesn't come to me, but it's like aesthetic filters. It's not aesthetic. What is the term that they use? It's basically just so it masks or it takes away the taste of chlorine. That's all that it does. It does not really like a it's like a make believe are most of these filters. They just you don't taste the chlorine, and then that's why you think the water's clean, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they do remove some stuff. Like carbon filters do remove some stuff. People don't realize though that when you get a carbon filter, and let's say the company tells you, "Oh, it filters out 5,000 gallons or 10,000 gallons," and I should say, first of all, I'm not making any claims for or against any product, you know, and I'm not giving any medical advice today or making medical claims. But beyond that, what happens is, let's say they say this filter filters out 5,000 gallons. Well, after you put just 500 gallons or 1,000 gallons, the quality of your water is actually going down because the filter is getting dirty. So, how do you make water consistently that is perfect and pure every single time? And literally, there's almost no water filtration system that can do that. I've looked at every single water filtration modality in existence.
But you found a series, and let's also say this: the
Mhm.
ideal that we're looking for is not to go through machines. The ideal is to actually create a world and an environment where you can have that clean stream water, clean well water, clean spring water, and where you don't have to go into the Himalayan mountains to get pure water, but you can actually have it in our environment. But short of that, which unfortunately we are right now, we have to look for a certain period of time until we fix things. We have to look at these technical systems that help us do that. And you've created a protocol for water cleaning that works well, but not just the cleaning, also the enhancement of water with everything that it actually needs to give you what you need from water. Because it's very different whether you drink dead water or water that's alive. So can you run us through the steps?
Yeah, so cleaning the water, first of all, is more, in my opinion, like a preventative, meaning you're going to prevent this toxic garbage that could prevent potentially from getting sick. But what if you are sick? You know, then now we're going to a whole different route. You can still eliminate the toxic garbage, which is through a process that I call carbon distillation. And that's what this lab report is all about, because what it shows is it shows every chemical, and then it shows how much was in the water, and after going through the process that I'm talking about, how much is left afterwards. And I mean, all these numbers, if you look real closely, which you probably can't, you know, it shows all the numbers, and after this process it's all zeros, meaning it took everything out. I mean, this is the best way to clean water. But then to enhance it, then we get to the thing that saved my life, which is hydrogen. And all this was based on scientific research. It's already being used medically, and of course in Japan, because they're the ones who discovered it. And ultimately, I had to learn how to make the best hydrogen, because I also learned through a lot of research that the way you make it truly does matter. And unfortunately, not to throw China under the bus, but unfortunately, the stuff I started seeing from China was the stuff that I was actually needing to avoid in the world of
Well,
hydrogen.
but that's not. I don't think it's unexpected for people because the new China versus the old China is all about quantity, not quality. The old original China, these wonderful people that had these ancient traditions were all about quality. It was very similar to the Japanese culture in terms of they were all about creating the best possible, the healthiest possible. The new China is different, and
Yeah.
so just wanted to clear that up.
Actually, I'm really glad that you said that because I completely agree with you. And I have a lot of friends that are actually from China, and I totally get along with them, and I love them. It's just they're tyrannical government as governments tend to do their thing. And that's one of the reasons that I'm extremely grateful for, like, in Japan, it's really part of their culture about honor. It's one
Mhm.
of the few cultures that I see that puts something above money, which is crazy because
Yeah.
most nations these days, everything's money. And the Japanese, from a lot of the people that I also know from Japan, honor is really important to them. And even the guy who created the hydrogen machine that you and I both use and like, I mean, that thing, not only did it save my life, but this guy did it. He didn't make it in China. It was all handmade in Japan, engineered in Japan, lab tested in Japan. I mean, it was like the best that Japanese could do. In fact, it's become the number one machine in all of Asia. Even people, it's funny because I've been finding out that people in China, they all want this Japanese machine. They don't even want their own stuff. They want the stuff from Japan.
So what we do, because you taught us, so we do what you do is we take the tap water, we run it through the carbon distiller. And dear coffee drinkers, let me tell you one thing. If you use distilled water or hydrogen water in your coffee, it's like it turns the coffee into a completely different beverage, and it actually brings out the real taste of coffee, just on a side note. But we run it through the carbon distiller, and then when it comes out of the carbon distiller, it goes into the hydrogen machine. And when it comes out of the hydrogen machine, we add the minerals. And I know it's quite the process, but hey, this is life. Water is life. Yes, exactly. Um, but Greg, tell us, when you do this process, and the people that do it because of a medical condition, the people that do it because they're going through a difficult phase in their lives, what begins to happen? And you combine it with a anti-parasitic protocol usually in the beginning, so this kind of has the best effect. What happens with those people? What is your observation? And of course, this is not medical advice; it's just your observation.
Well, the things that I've seen, my father was always the best example. He had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, arthritis, and glaucoma. So that was a pretty big list for him. And just the clean water and the hydrogen, which I'm always hesitant to say because I don't want people to get too confident with this, but he didn't change his diet. And my father was not eating well. And just that, he got rid of all those conditions. And that was a really big deal. Recently, and you've seen the pictures about the people with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
And just a few months back, I did an interview with her. There was a woman who had traumatic brain injury. When I first spoke to this woman, she couldn't finish one sentence coherently. She was like a little Brandon that we know out there. Everybody,
Mm-hmm.
let's go, Brandon, right? Sorry about that.
No, I love it. I love it.
But man, she was like that. She could not finish a sentence. Sometimes she couldn't even remember her own name. And so she had traumatic brain injury, and she had contacted me because she heard about the clean water, the hydrogen, my protocols. And the word's getting out, the word's getting out because people are having these crazy success stories. And I have a lot of before and after pictures too. And she was such a beautiful story, Jean. And she found me because of you, thank God. Because I'm telling you right now, she got back to me, and I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 months after she'd started the protocol. And she got back to me, and I didn't know who she was because I talked to so many people, and on the phone. And I was talking to her, and halfway through the conversation, she's like, "Well, don't you remember who I am?" And I'm like, uh, "No, I'm a little confused." And when she let me know who she was, I was like, "Oh my God, I kid you not." She was completely forming normal sentences. She could remember things now. She said, "You have changed my life. I never knew about hydrogen. I didn't know about how to clean water like this." I have a picture I'm going to send you too of a man who has, this poor man has been suffering. See, this is what I mean about medical conditions and how they make you suffer. His whole body, John, you couldn't even see the original color of his skin. That he has a skin condition, and it completely has affected him in such a negative way. And again, some people contacted me who knew him. He didn't know about me. And they put him on this protocol that I created. And brother, he looks normal now, basically. You can see the normal color of his skin, and he's
That's
feeling much
amazing.
better. And it's so hard to believe that something is out there like this. Now, granted, there's almost 2,000 studies proving that hydrogen really obviously has a very positive effect. And I always tell people, be cautious of how to use it because not every hydrogen is created equal. I'm not into hydrogen that uses chemicals. Believe it or not, there's companies out there, they put chemicals like lye or sodium hydroxide into a hydrogen machine. It's the craziest thing. That's not something that I would do. But I like to make it very cleanly. The purity truly matters. And it's funny, a little pattern that I noticed. This wasn't even on purpose, John. So like, for example, this company that makes the water thing, the machine that I like, I don't own any of these companies. These are just the ones that I chose because they're the best. But they're called mypurewater.com. So they use
Hmm.
the word pure. To overcome nutritional deficiencies, I was talking to your lovely wife about a company called Purium. They're all about purity, and it's called
Hmm.
ishoppurium.com. And I use those powders to overcome nutritional deficiencies. And I believe I'm going to be getting you guys on those soon to make sure to keep your
I
health.
believe we're getting a trial package. I believe it's on the way. Yes. Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate that.
I mean, it's super awesome. And you know, this health protocol that I created, they're not complex. I've seen some where people have a cupboard full of stuff. In my opinion, you really don't need all that stuff. You know, I've been able to simplify to just clean water, put hydrogen, and get your nutrition. The Purium products are food. That's all they, I mean, it's
Hmm.
true food. And that's what and then of course the minerals, because the water process to clean it eliminates everything, including every mineral. So we try to put some good minerals, like you said, back in the food and just eliminating a few things from your diet. And it's not the most complicated thing in the world to get healthy. And it
That's
shocks me that, go ahead.
no, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. Is your protocol is shockingly simple, but actually, nutrition and a healthy lifestyle always were shockingly simple because it's basically you live off and with the land, and that meant you drank the water that was coming from a spring or a well, and you eat the food that in the best case scenario, you grow it, or at least someone you know grows it, and so it's very, very clean and pure, and all these things. Of course, in today's America and the world at large, not everywhere, but most countries, this has become very, very difficult. So basically, one key advice that you put out in the beginning is avoid 90% of the foods that you find on the shelves, because all processed foods will ultimately deal with the same struggles, because they all need processes and pasteurization and chemicals to do the processes that they want to do to make it the product that you see in the end. So that's one thing. So you return to natural foods that are unprocessed and really return to clean and healthy water. Now, this protocol that you have about the water, people can replicate this at home. Yes, full disclosure, yes, this will cost a little bit of money, but that's just the way it is. It is nothing compared to the medical cost that people have along the way because of all the conditions. So I think, and it isn't even a tenth of an average car today. But if you look at the carbon distiller that you recommend and the Holy Hydrogen machine, and I believe at least on the Holy Hydrogen machine, on you can now do a payment plan, right?
Yeah, and from what I've calculated, because I've been calculating, trying to get, I always want to find the best. I don't like to put a dollar amount on like the water. It's
The
like I want the
quality,
best
yeah.
water, you know. And so I look for the best, and then I try to see, can we make it? How can we do the cheapest for the best? You know, that's always been kind of my motto. And basically, with a hydrogen machine, you know, a lot of the ones again from China, not to knock on them, they're unreliable. But I wouldn't use them anyway, just because of things that are my concerns of whether it's chemicals or even the type of metals. That's
Hmm.
the biggest thing, Jean, that I learned also in the world of hydrogen is metal technology is huge. And I would have even not learned that if it wasn't for the Japanese. The Japanese are masters of metal. I mean, they're samurai sword, you know,
Hmm.
from hundreds of years ago. I mean, they're masters at metal. And so they quickly learned that that had a lot to do with the purity. So yeah, they have payment plans, which end up being really quite inexpensive in the end because the machines last years and years and years. You know, it's like the Toyota hydrogen machine, the one that I
And,
use.
and Greg, I think if they use your link, do they get a discount on it if they use your coupon code?
Yeah, they can get a discount. The discount code is the same as my YouTube channel name, which is Uprising 144K.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the same thing for mypurewater.com. The carbon distillers, you can get a discount with the same code, or unless you, I think maybe I don't know if you have
No,
one
no, no.
too.
We're gonna put all of your links. These are the companies Greg works with and has worked with. This is what he has gone through. This is the protocol he uses, and that he uses with the people that he helps. So I encourage you to all go in the video description, click on those links, check it out. Um, if you think of investing in anything this year, this is really the investment that should be before all others, because it's in your health and the well-being of your family, not just you, but your whole family will use it. That's all the water you're going to use. But Greg, you have discovered all these things. You have done all the research. You have, you're working with these companies to set up studies and have lab tests and all these things. So you are a fact guy. When you come out, it's because of facts. And you also developed protocols that help people wherever they are to get to a better place, if we want to put it in simple terms. How can people get in touch with you and work with you? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, the best way is either they can email me if they want to. My email is uprising144k@gmail.com. Please be patient, because I do get a lot of emails and I do my absolute best to get back to people. It's always best if they include a phone number, believe it or not, because I tend to call people. It's easier than going back and forth with each person like 20 times on an email. That just ends up being way too much work. And that's one way. They can learn a lot from my YouTube channel. Everything's free. I put it all out there. And that channel is called Uprising144k. And then for everybody who, I don't promote 100 different products or 200 different products. Like, it's very narrow because I only share what I actually use myself.
Exactly, that's what we do.
Because you've seen some YouTube people, they'll have like 200 products they're promoting. I'm thinking, there's no way you take all that stuff. There's just no way.
No. So, and Greg, there's the question. So you have your YouTube channel, Uprising144k, where you dissect the whole hydrogen story and everything that comes with it. You teach people how to do things. Once they get the machine, they have all the tutorial videos from you up there on how to do it the best possible way, how to inhale it, the hydrogen. And we've talked about this before. But people always ask us, for someone like you who's given out so much information, knowledge, experience, how can we support him? I love that question. So how can people support you also in a financial way?
Well, that's extremely kind. When people use the codes, it does help support the channel. And I'm kind of getting to the place where my goal was always to have my channel through YouTube, be supported, and through all these links so that I could do this full time for everybody. And I'm getting really, really close to that because I'm still working a normal job, but that's probably the best way is just using codes and sharing the videos and trying to actually grow the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is what I've really been trying to do to subsidize so that I can continue to give all the information for free, because I love giving away stuff for free. I mean, I want everybody to be able to have access. I wish I could give away all the carbon distillers and all the hydrogen machines. I wish I could do it all for free. I wish I was a multi-billionaire, and I really do sincerely wish I could do that. But the people who do support, like the people who can afford the products and they get the products, they're actually supporting really good companies. I really have looked for the best companies. And I'm not going to throw any company under the bus. I'm not going to give any names, but I'll just say that in the world of health, John, the other thing that I realized, and it was shocking, is there's a lot of not great health companies out there. Again, I'm not going to name names, but it's crazy the ingredients I have seen, because I look at the lab tests. The stuff that I've seen in these supposed organic health products is just crap. It's terrible. And so, I'm sorry, I don't know if I...
people get into businesses for the wrong reasons. You do it because it's your story, because you believe in it, because it has helped you, because you have the facts, and because you want others to benefit from it as well. And that's that's what we all share. That's what we do. Why we do what we do. Unfortunately, a lot of people are not like that, and that's just something that is slowly beginning to change. People are beginning to get in touch with higher consciousness, with their conscience. They start rediscovering a moral compass, and I surely hope that we're helping with that. But I'd really love for all of you, Inspire Tribe, to go check out Greg's YouTube channel, Uprising144k. That's the YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the notifications button so you'll get notified about his new videos, and help him grow it, and you will help others succeed on their health journey too, which is so important, and you'll support his work as well. Greg, I'll give you the stage here. What are your parting words for today? What is your message for our viewers?
Well, the biggest thing is I sincerely want people to be healthy and happy. And if I can provide an avenue or information to help people so that they don't have to research countless hours for countless years like I have, and I can just give you the simple information, and luckily it's affordable. It's not 20, 30 grand. Carbon distiller with the coupon code is like 500 and something bucks. I mean, for clean water, I just think clean water is absolutely priceless. The fact that you can make clean water for that price to me is kind of unbelievable, actually. And so I really want to see America strong. I want to see them sharp. I want to see them healthy. I want to see them happy. And I really hope that that we get some really great person to replace Mr. Brandon here soon and turn this ship around, because we totally need it. And I am very grateful too that there are actually products that can do the things that we're wanting. It sucks that our water's polluted, but at least we have something that can clean our water. It sucks that hydrogen is not in all our water, but at least we have a device that can pump it full of hydrogen and full of life. And if people, I have such cool videos that show what it does for your blood, what it does under thermo imaging, a lot of medical research. And it's exciting because it's hard to believe. I've literally had doctors contact me saying, this is just really hard to believe, but it's the real deal. So it's exciting. And we're coming into the new hydrogen journey here in the near future, because I do think hydrogen is actually going to change the world. And I'll be going to Japan soon, as you know. Maybe we'll do an interview over there.
Yes.
I'm planning soon.
That's exciting. Greg has an exciting journey ahead of him, but please hop over to Uprising 144K on YouTube, subscribe, and watch, learn, and also get in touch with Greg if you need assistance on your health journey. And please support him as you get your help. Greg needs to pay his bills as well, so that's important too. Greg, thank you so much for joining us again today and sharing all your knowledge and wisdom with us. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much for allowing me to be able to share this information with the people. I sincerely hope that it helps many people out there.
Wonderful. It's our great pleasure. And Inspired Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon. Would you like to get access to exclusive content as well as being part of a community of like-minded people posting, sharing, and connecting on a deeper level? Come join the Inspired community on Locals, where we share more intimately and privately and do our Coffee and Truth live streams, as well as our Honey Talks show, the only Inspired show with Christine Nolan. The Inspired community is absolutely uncensored and unfiltered, a place for truth, authenticity, and freedom. Join us now at inspired.locals.com or click on a link in the video description.